Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cut to Reveal.
Ooh, it's been a while.
It is I, Ricardo. It's been a while, yeah. I'm here with Peter, as usual. Erwann is still on vacation because Europe and vacation.
What a lazy guy.
Always on vacation. So yeah, how are you doing, Peter?
I was lazy for 2 weeks as well, so... No, we've been at my father's place and spending time with family and stuff like that. Very nice. What can I say?
I saw the pictures. You had some adventures and whatnot with kayaking and running and just hanging out with family. Looked very nice, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Can't complain. It was awesome. And by the way, Ricky, I look forward to you visiting Poland maybe this year.
Hopefully. We'll see how that goes. I still have to talk to my wife about it. So
okay, yeah. Fair enough.
But that's something that I definitely would like to do and get out to, because I haven't been to any film festivals here in Europe. Regardless, I haven't been to a lot in Europe, and we haven't hung out yet. I've hung out with the Erwann, so it's a must. It has to happen this year, 2024. It has to happen.
Exactly, and the festival that we talk about is Camerimage Film Festival in Poland. Some people also call it Camerimage from French pronunciation of the image word. And the lineup of the guests this year is supposed to be quite amazing. Kate Blanchett will be, which by the way we talked about her on the podcast before,
right.
in one of the past episodes.
She's middle class.
Everyone was making fun.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be a jury president. And yesterday there was information that the
Hiroyuki Sanada will be, he's getting an award.
Yeah, for the best performance in the TV show.
Genau, right. Yeah, Steve McQueen is also going to be there. He's getting an award.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, and by the way, last time we've mentioned that Erwann is probably competing at...
In the Olympics?
Sumo, yeah, exactly, at sumo competition at the Olympics. But it seems like actually there isn't sumo competition at the Olympics.
No,
at least
there's
it wasn't. Yeah, there is not. So it looks like I was mistaken. But I've heard that in boxing, in women's boxing, there were some people that they weren't sure if they're really men or women.
Oh yeah, there was that huge scandal about this.
Was it Erwann? That's my question.
It was Erwann. It might have been. I don't know.
It must have been. It must have been.
She looked tougher than Erwann, so I'm going to say that it wasn't Erwann. And I met Erwann.
Makeup.
Oh man, that's good. Anyway, let's go in a different direction now. Last time we asked for people to send us feedback, or we always, at the end of every episode, we always do. And so this is going to be a special shout out to Khalid, who I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, and then Robert. Khalid for basically the thumbs up and just the inspiration that we've been able to help him with his career, and the advice that we have on this podcast, and just the things that we're saying that he was able to use and utilize to his benefit, which that's kind of the reason that we're here, is to help anybody who's along the same trajectory as us, to be in this, this is my dream job, so to help people with their dream jobs in this direction and whatever. This just feels great, and we're so happy that we are able to help Khalid with his own career.
Yeah, exactly.
And then also to Robert for giving us some great feedback on how to improve the podcast. So thank you very much, you two, and anybody else. We would appreciate anything, any feedback that you have for us, good or bad, or any constructive criticism and whatnot, and of course kind words. So.
And by the way, we'll address Robert's feedback in future episodes. So Robert, if you're listening, we'll address it. Not in this episode, but in the future ones. Let's go back to the Olympics for a moment. The games are over and so on. Have you watched any of the games?
I did. I watched them live, and then I watched basically the highlights on the website.
Uh-huh. Yeah, to me it was very interesting to see how they are able to include motion graphics and animations in a live broadcast. I don't mean an animation of a scoreboard or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean an animation of the ball going through the net or something like that. For example, in table tennis, there were those moments where they kind of in real time there was a replay, and they have shown the spin of the ball like what was the spin of the ball, in which direction it was spinning, stuff like that, right? And I've seen it for other competitions as well, where I think for throwing as well, and like, that they were able to like in real time apply all of these things. And I think it's quite amazing. It was like very, I don't know, eye-opening to me that like so much preparation must go into it, because to be able to do it so quickly during the broadcast, you have to have like pretty much 95% of the thing already done, and you just need very like you just do a very fast tracking to attach it to an object that's moving on the screen and stuff like that. But other than that, the animation is ready, and like you have probably just parameters that you're like changing. Like for example, with the spin of the ball, like maybe you have a slider for like the direction of the spin that you just move to show the one that is supposed to be shown, and then you track it to the object, the ball, in slow motion, and that's it, and it goes live. Like it's freaking amazing. And like just I just imagine, just like trying to imagine how many people must have worked on both capturing the footage and then post-production is freaking amazing. Like wow, like it must be. I've heard that like not many countries want to host Olympics, but I guess that would be one of the good things for the workforce in a given country, that like especially for like video workforce, I guess.
Yeah, I know that the Olympics has its own like broadcasting system. So they have a lot of the infrastructure that, that we're marveling at already kind of set up so that when they go to these places, they already have like a crew that is video shooting everything. And I assume that they probably, I mean, with most sports stuff, like if you watch a hockey game or football, American football, specifically in my mind, those things come up because when you watch them, they're always showing like overlays, like especially in hockey, like if somebody does like a power shot, like you're seeing the instant replay will have like, okay, the puck was going this amount of miles, and they'll put like a little like like fire bolt on it or something to make it look like, okay, it's going really, really fast. And in the same with like American football, it'll show you like the first down line where the point that they're trying to get past, even though the human eye can't see it, but we're watching it on the monitor, we can see it. So I feel like they have figured it out over so many years, and they're basically just bringing it in. And then different broadcast companies, like I assume that you watch it through Poland, Polish television, and then I watch it here. Like I was watching it live on German television, so to speak, like on their website, but it kind of just, they already have their graphics packages in place. So like I don't know that it's because I didn't compare from, NBC in the US to, whatever here in Germany and then in Poland, that if they all have the same graphics packages, but they're just kind of like, my understanding, and this could be totally wrong, is that, they're shooting all of this stuff, but then whatever broadcasting system is coming in to send it to their own country or whatever, like they have their own little directing stations or whatever, their own control rooms, where then they can just go in and be like, okay, take this, maybe they're live directing at the same time, and then somebody can just plug in like, okay, but now we're doing the instant replay, this is whatever. So everything is kind of like old hat for the people that are coming in, but that doesn't take away how freaking amazing it is and how like on the fly, like that stuff just gets thrown together. And how I never wanted to get into television in that sense, because it's just so high stress, just like this has to be done. And I've done live stuff before in that way, and it's like, oh my god, it's just too much. It's too much.
Yeah, but like for people that like that environment and working with people and stuff like that, like it could be a nice niche to get into, an interesting one for sure. By the way, like Marcus Brownlee, he made an amazing video about technology in golf and broadcast especially, and how they are able to like know the speed of the ball right away once it's hit, and how they know trajectory of the ball before it even flies there. It's pretty amazing. Like there is a lot of technology that goes into that, but then again, this technology has to be fed through some kind of post-production system, some kind of like motion graphics and stuff like that, to visualize it very well, so that it's captivating for the viewer. So yeah, I find the stuff fascinating.
Yeah, and then I mean that's just the live stuff, because then like I mentioned, every day or after every event, there's then somebody has to cut together the highlight reel.
Yeah.
And so like you can go on the Olympics website and see like all the highlights for every round of,
For every round,
every
exactly.
sport. So there's, now that being said, I don't know if Olympics has OBS, which is the Olympic broadcast system. So that might just be the production aspect of it. And then they might just hire out editors within like, France or Paris this time, or they might have their own small team that maybe they're like, we're going to do this much and then we'll hire it out to like somebody else. Or if every broadcast company is making their own highlights or whatever, that's something that that speaks to what you had said, like, they're going to need editors and they're going to come in and they're going to do whatever to help out with the Olympics.
I assumed that most of it was done by like, French people, by the workforce like close to the events. That's what I assumed, but probably that's actually a wrong assumption.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we could look more into this to find out more if the Olympics does all the post-production as well, and then they just feed it out to anybody who has the media rights or whatever, or the opposite of that. But it's still really interesting.
Yeah, but also when we've mentioned the topic yesterday, just like talking about like what we'll be talking about on the podcast, you found an article by Paul Hirsch, which, by the way, he's known for his book on editing, but also for many films that he has edited. And it's fascinating because like he describes in this article, it's from 2005, so 19 years ago. He wrote an article about the Droid Olympics. And my goodness, what a time to be alive. Like they had Olympics for editors. And it was kind of, and like, it's amazing, must have been amazing fun. But also that the whole initiative came from one and only Walter Murch, which blows my mind again. Like, what a guy.
So listener, basically I was Peter had mentioned like editing and Olympics, so I was like looking up things and my search term was editing the Olympics, and this article came up by Paul Hirsch called The Droid Olympics When Editing Was a Competitive Sport, and it basically talks about how him and Walter Murch, Francis Ford Coppola, all these people from
George Lucas,
what's it called? American Zoetrope Productions. Yeah, all these people, on a summer day, like 3 years, not 3 years in a row, but every
2 years and 3 times. They did it 3 times.
Yeah, they would get together, and this was film, so we're not talking about digital editing, and they'd have competitions where they'd get together, eat hot dogs and hamburgers, and compete for time about like spooling reels and making cuts and all these other things. So it was an interesting view into like the history of filmmaking in general, but just kind of the fun things that just how us as editors now can't even fathom, especially for those of us who didn't go to film school and have ever really touched film in that sense. But yeah, there was the one that I thought was kind of funny was just looking at a spool of film and guessing how long that spool is in the same way that you would like jelly beans in a jar.
Yeah, this one is fun as well.
So it's funny. We'll put the link up in the description.
Yeah, and the one with where they had to run with a box full of trim.
Yeah.
The box full of it so that they couldn't see anything in front of them and they had to run with it. Crazy and awesome.
And the reason it's called the Droid Olympics, and so this wasn't specifically for editors. This was for assistant editors, and so the reason for droids is because the autonomous tasks that assistant editors had to do, they just named themselves the droids. So that's why it's called the Droid Olympics.
Yeah. After the Star Wars film, right? That was like released a year earlier. Yeah, and the whole idea that it came to Walter Murch, at least that's what it says in the article, because editing Apocalypse Now was so demanding and like, and assistant editors had like so much film to go through. Like it says like 1,250,000 feet of work print. Crazy.
That's so crazy.
Crazy, exactly. So it's just like it was a different world. And that's, by the way, Paul Hirsch, he also like mentions that like those are now like skills that are dead. Like very few people remember them and know how to do them anymore. And it was written in 2005, so 19 years ago. So these days, it's even like, for me, when I was reading the description of some of the competitions, I wasn't sure what they mean.
Yeah.
For some of them, I wasn't sure what they mean. So it shows you, like, the gap with the technology
the
and stuff like
knowledge gap,
that
for sure.
happened. Yeah. Anyway, it's a very interesting article. So strongly encourage you to have a look at that link in the description. I'm working on a project, I will call it this way for now, where I might be doing some re-editing, maybe restructuring potentially. We don't know yet, but we're looking into it. And to do it, I used Milanote, which, by the way, not a sponsor, but I'm mentioning that because, like, I thought about doing this method that once again Walter Murch describes in The Blink of an Eye, which is like a sticky notes on the wall with like pictures, images that represent a given scene, right? So that you can see the broad perspective of the film and then make the decisions around like the structure and the flow of it and stuff like that. So I did like a version in Milanote, a digital version of that, and yeah, just a confirmation that like I think it helps. It helps to get like a broad perspective and like a high angle look at the film, and it helps you with thinking about like where each building block potentially could go and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, just an idea, just something that I did recently that I thought I would mention. Maybe someone will do it for their project at some point.
Is this app free or are you paying for it?
It's a paid app, but it also has a free version. And actually, I'm using a paid version, but I didn't pay for it. And listen to that. I was trying to reach out to some of the companies when trying to find the budget for Yellow Ticket. Milanote was the only one that said, we can't give you money, but we can give you access to Milanote Pro version to support your film. So I accepted, obviously, even though it wasn't like a monetary support. But still, they helped me with that. I used Milanote for breaking down Yellow Ticket as well, and for like having like, for example, I used it for actors when I was like casting. I had like a list of actors, pictures, or their descriptions of their characters and stuff like that. I broken it all down in Milanote. Yeah, I find it useful for that kind of stuff, even though not a sponsor.
They sponsored you and Yellow Ticket.
Yeah, they sponsored the Yellow Ticket in a way, not financially, but they still helped. So I appreciate it.
What's up with Lost on Netflix?
So Lost was on Disney Plus, I guess, for the past couple of years, and I don't think you could watch it anywhere else. Maybe you could somewhere else. I'm not sure. But now it's on Netflix. So if your dear listener didn't watch Lost, I personally love this show. It's probably not for everyone, and a lot of people are disappointed with the last season and stuff like that. But I personally think that it's one of the series, one of the shows that like pushed the, like Breaking Bad, like it pushed the line. It set the bar for what's next. I think it's such a great show. I think they were so ambitious with what they did on that show. I love it. So that's why I encourage anyone to watch it. And like a trivia, I guess, from Yellow Ticket, my short film again, is that I did this thing on Yellow Ticket. I've mentioned it in the past episode, I guess, where I came up with a backstory for some of the actors in my short film. And the idea came from the book Directing Actors by Judith Weston, but also from Lost, because like when I read about this technique of like finding the backstory and giving it to actors as a secret from one another that they have to keep from one another. When I read about this, preparing for for directing Yellow Ticket, I immediately thought about Lost and flashbacks that they have in Lost, and how you learn about those characters and their past as you watch the series. And I think it's fascinating. I think it's also it enriches the characters so much. It shows you like who they are in a different way. Yeah, just wanted to tell you that it's on Netflix. So if you haven't seen it, give it a go.
I've only watched the first season, and that was like a million years ago, and in a most unlikely place. I was on a bus in Australia driving up the coast, and there was a DVD player, and somebody for whatever reason had the first season of Lost on it, and so we just watched the first season of Lost as we were traveling, and it beat listening to an EP of whatever the Killers song that came out in 2005 or whatever on repeat. So that was interesting, but beyond that, I haven't watched any other Lost. And it was one of those shows that you get excited about, and then this happened to me with The Walking Dead, where I was like, "Oh, the first season is amazing, and I'm gonna watch it, die hard," and then I never watched the rest of it. And then I was like, "Oh no, it's on season whatever 7." I'm like, I don't want to go back and watch all this. This is too much time, and I have so much other things that I want to watch. But
it's different. It's definitely different than what we're used to right now, I think, in a way. And I don't think that like they had clear idea about what will be in next seasons. And that's something that actually that's very noticeable, I think, because there are weaker episodes, there are weaker seasons even in Lost. It's one of those shows. It's not flawless. I never said, and I will never will, that the whole series is flawless. I think it has a lot of flaws, but it's so ambitious with what it does that. And also, I watched it. It's one of the first like big TV shows that I watched, so I have a special place for it in my heart. So bear this in mind. But yeah, to me, it's still one of those shows that like makes a difference and push the boundary forward for future series that came after it.
yeah, I could see that. I remember when that was out, and because that was before anything streaming, obviously. But yeah, people are losing their minds over it. It was like when, like, I don't know if you're, this might be my age, but I remember when Twin Peaks came out, and people that I knew, even kids that I like, I mean, I was in maybe junior high when that came out, and I remember kids sitting down to watch that, and it's just one of those
Twin Peaks.
water cooler shows that people are like, oh my god, yeah, Twin Peaks,
Okay, yeah.
the original Twin Peaks series.
So listen to that. In Torún, the city of Camerimage Film Festival, right? That hopefully will come. I think there is a museum of Twin Peaks.
Really? That's...
Or it's supposed to be there. I'm not really sure, but look at that. Crazy, right?
That is crazy. Well, maybe we'll have pictures of it.
Okay, so you've watched The Bear season 3. I haven't seen it yet.
I watched The Bear. So The Bear, if you've seen it, maybe we've talked about it before. I've talked about The Bear being
I've seen the first 2 seasons, but I haven't seen the third one yet.
Yeah, so it's The Bear is a show about a chef in Chicago who takes over his dead brother's beef fast food stand and turns it into like a gourmet restaurant. Him coming from basically working at the best restaurant in all the world and whatever, and then it's just basically the internal workings of this restaurant and the relationships that all these people have. And it's probably one of the most high anxiety shows that you'll ever see. And each episode is basically like 30 minutes. But the most recent, we're watching season 3 right now, and we're almost done with it. But season 2,
you meaning you and your wife?
Me and my wife, right? My wife and I are watching the Bears, so we're on season 3 and episode 2. All the seasons kind of run together at the same amount of time. Like the end of season 1 picks up immediately after, picks up in season 2 with right after like that day, and so the same with season 3. If you've seen season 2, it was crazy, and then it basically picks up the next day. So not giving much away, there was a huge thing that happened, and so Carmi, the main character, is trying to overcorrect for it. And so there's this, basically he's like, we're going to set down new standards. And so in this episode in season 3, which is the second episode, it's called Next, and it is basically he unveils his plan, like this is what I want to do, and it starts out with just him talking to one person, and then they're in the kitchen and more people come in and they're still looking at it, and you've got all these conversations that are kind of overlapping each other, and it's like both funny and both anxiety inducing, and it's like so watertight in the way that the interactions are happening that there's no like loose ends, or it's not like I'm losing, I don't know where I should be looking type of thing, but it's just like so well done that it's like one of those episodes that you remember clearly, but also makes you inspired to be like, I want to edit something like that, or I want my game to be that good in regards to conveying these emotions that are overlapping. And you're getting like, oh my God, what the fuck is going to happen? There's going to be a fight going to break out. And then somebody comes in and they drop this line that's like so funny. And then you just pull back into like, oh no, there is a fight going to break out or whatever. So I want to give a shout out to the editor who worked on this, was Joanna Naugle, which hopefully I'm pronouncing her name right. But I think she is a co-owner of a company called Senior Post out of LA and New York that I think has cut all the Bear episodes or Bear seasons. So if we could find her and get her on the podcast, that'd be awesome, because I would love to know how she worked her magic on this. And just, I mean, most of those, a lot of the episodes are just, they're only 20, 30 minutes long. So you got to get to the point on a lot of these things. And it's just so well edited. And then, I mean, The Bear has a place in my heart anyway, because it's shot in Chicago, where I'm from. So every time I see it, I get nostalgic and reminiscent of like, oh, this is, I want to be back there. Or, Chicago has a place in my heart. But yeah, so if you haven't watched The Bear already, you need to get into it, because like I said, it's real short and quick episodes, but I swear, I mean, and at the same time, like as you mentioned with Lost, not all I don't celebrate the entire catalog. I think The Bear overall is a great show. There's a lot of great edits in it, but there's some episodes where you're like, what did I just watch? Nothing happened in this episode. It looked really pretty and it was edited really well, but nothing moved forward, it seemed like to me. And especially when I'm sitting next to my wife, who is like, what the fuck was that all about? Like, nothing happened. Why are we watching this? So regardless, I highly recommend people watching.
I didn't have the feeling, but I like, as you know, I like films where people just talk in the room. So,
there's subtle. There's some of it's subtle and ambiguous, where you're like, okay, they took 40 minutes to essentially like incrementally move the character forward, which to my wife isn't as big as it should be.
I get it.
But we're on the last episode, and the previous episode was just like, oh my God, they just need to go. They need to go. What? How come this hasn't happened yet? Type of thing. But anyway, a lot of great acting too. Jamie Lee Curtis is probably the best. She's such a fantastic actress, and in this, even though she's not in like every episode, but when she's in, she brings.
She owns the. She owns the space.
Yeah, she's so fucking good. She's so fucking good.
And you also, I know you also started watching Sanctuary, which is the show that I recommended to you.
Yeah. So Sanctuary is a sumo show, and it's essentially the story of a.
Shout out to Erwann.
Shout out to Erwann. Was it sumo or was it swimming that he said that he was going to be competing in? I couldn't remember. It doesn't matter anymore. He was in boxing. We maybe it was boxing. It doesn't matter. So the sumo. So Sanctuary is a show on Netflix, and it's essentially about this kid who I don't know, a troubled kid, but he's basically comes from a broken home, who joins a stable of sumo wrestlers. That's what they call it's a stable, and to compete, and then he can make money. And if he gets to a certain level, he can make really, really good money. And so it's kind of like his journey as he becomes a better sumo wrestler.
Yeah.
Peter has watched it all, really liked it. Kind of questionable over the last season and how the next season will come, but I just started watching it this week actually. So I'm in episode 3 now, and it's good. I mean, I feel some of it is a little bit melodramatic, and especially with the like kind of the loss in translation of Japanese television or just storytelling or whatever.
For sure. Also, like Japanese films are very often melodramatic a little bit, I think. So yeah, I find it interesting. I like this style in a way. I got used to it as well. I like the world that Japanese people create, and especially this one with Sanctuary. I think it's quite authentic to what it used to look like, and it's kind of because like it also happens during kind of like the shift in how sumo trainings look like, and the one that the main character, the protagonist, is attending to is the last traditional school, last traditional stable in Tokyo. Other stables, they became more like gym places, right? Rather than like rather than like traditional culture and sumo culture and stuff like that. So it's interesting from that point of view as well. I find it fascinating what they did with showing how what it's like to be in this world. And as far as I know, as far as I read, it's really quite accurate about like the violence that goes in there, the way that those people live, and how they train as well. And it's both admirable and also scary in a way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, put those on your list. The Bear, The Lost on Netflix, Sanctuary. Have you watched any movies lately?
I did, but they like listeners already have like 3 months of their life taken off. So
yeah, so I was gonna. Yeah, I've watched a bunch of movies.
Like, listen, like
too.
Pick one of those. Okay, don't watch all of those because like, it would be too much. Lost has 6 seasons. Yeah,
you guys can watch it. We'll tell you if there's a good edit in it, and then you can jump on it. But we're not going to give you our reviews, people, if that's what you're here for.
I mean, people have to choose, right? We have to choose. So unfortunately, it's not possible to watch everything these days. It wouldn't be healthy, and you wouldn't have a career. So.
Speaking of which, I wonder how Erwann's doing with his watching a movie every day, considering he's been on vacation for the last
we'll ask him about that next week, I guess.
Yeah, he gets back on the 20th. He says the 25th, but with his Olympic training, I have no idea. Anyway, thank you, dear listener, for listening to us ramble on about editing stuff and films and movies and whatnot. Just so you know, if you want to reach out to us and give us feedback, give us critiques.
Just like Robert and Khalid.
You can email us at podcast@cuttothepoint.com. You can also leave us a voicemail through SpeakPipe, which is www.speakpipe.com/CTR. We are also on Instagram, so if you want to chat with us on there, I run the Instagram stuff, so you can be talking to me directly. That's at @CutToReveal. I'm always trying to post something on there, even if it's just this is when the next episode comes on. But if you reach out to me, I'll definitely talk to you. And then you should follow us on YouTube. So our YouTube channel is youtube.com/@CutToReveal. All of that stuff will be in the description per usual. So if you want to leave us comments on any of our videos or comments on any of our Instagram stuff, or even reach out to those things, have at it, because we are here and we will reach out. We'll reach back. We'll talk to you. We're not above you guys. We are you guys. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.